Hey Canna, I'm about to receive a large inheritance. So I need to know, how do I protect my financial future? Answering this question right now as part of Start Here. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Start Here, the very special mini-series within Sugar Mama's Fireplay, where I answer your real-life money questions with calm, practical, empowering guidance to help you take your first step, or perhaps next step, with clarity and confidence. Now, today's question is a deeply important one, and I want you to listen closely, even if you're not personally receiving an inheritance, because this episode is really about financial independence, financial protection, and not becoming a statistic later in life, particularly if you're a female. Now, this message comes from a lady who I will call Jane for privacy reasons, and I'm going to read out part of her message because her words really do matter. She writes, "Hey Canna, my mum passed away in September 2025. My brother and I will be recipients of her assets. My share will be approximately $880,000. I'm currently separated from my husband, but we believe we will reconcile. I became painfully aware of how little I actually have to my name. My superannuation sits at only $92,000. My name is on the mortgage, but both cars are in his name. I never want to find myself in a situation like this ever again, no matter how much I love someone." All right, Jane, thank you so much for trusting me with this. And to anyone listening, this situation is not uncommon, and it is not a failure. It's actually a wake-up call, and one where you are choosing to actually act and honor the hard work and generosity of your late mother. So in this episode right now, I'm going to break down this into 9 clear steps so that it's really easy to follow, it's easy to absorb, and everyone who's listening knows exactly what to do and ask when you do see a financial planner for personal advice. Now, as a quick reminder, this episode, like all my other episodes, are always general information only, and they're for educational purposes. But this episode will most definitely help you ask the right questions and make far stronger financial decisions going forward. So the first thing we need to talk about before we jump into the nitty-gritty strategy is actually about reality, the stats. Right now in Australia, women retire with 25 to 30% less super than men. Now, this is really scary. Over 1/3 of single women over the age of 65 live in poverty or near poverty. Divorce, separation, caregiving, time out of the workforce, these are the key drivers of these horrible and disturbing, frightening numbers. So Jane's intuition that she doesn't want to be financially vulnerable ever again is not actually fear-based. It's data-driven, and I'm so glad that Jane is aware of this so that she can intentionally and proactively do something to protect herself. And for the record, this inheritance isn't actually just about money. It's an opportunity to change her long-term financial future and avoid becoming a statistic. All right, so now that I have just made everyone aware of these important factors, we now need to think about, what do we actually do? Now, this is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive, but the first thing right now I would actually recommend is pausing. Yep, do nothing. Do not rush to pay anything off. Do not rush to go and spend or invest that money. Do not rush to combine funds or think that you have to try and fix everything at once. This money, this inheritance, should be parked into a separate account. It should be clearly identifiable and not emotionally spent. A savings account, an online savings account with low fees and high interest would be perfect. We need to create space, because when we have that space, we're able to make healthier decisions that honor not only our financial well-being, but also our values and goals. Once we've put the money into the savings account and taken that very important breather and press pause, and we finally feel ready to get on with the show, the next step is to get legal advice. Legal protection always comes before financial strategy. Now, as mentioned in her message to me, Jane is separated but actually considering reconciliation. Now, this is where legal advice is essential, not optimal. Inheritance can be protected. Inheritance can be quarantined. Inheritance can be unintentionally exposed. So if reconciliation occurs and separation then happens again later, that inheritance may be considered part of the asset pool unless it has been structured correctly. And this is not about distrust. It's actually about self-respect and future certainty. This is where a family lawyer should really be part of the advice team before any money is allocated or moved. And that is a non-negotiable from me. Once this is done, the next step is to talk about the idea or concept or even goal of being mortgage-free. So Jane mentioned in her message to me the idea of maybe looking to pay off her remaining mortgage of $60,000. So I want to really validate that instinct. Being mortgage-free removes non-deductible interest. It improves the monthly cash flow and possibly lifestyle. More money for experiences, wining and dining, possibly more holidays. And of course, it increases that emotional and financial stability, which is really important. And obviously, we have choice, we have flexibility, we have options when we don't have, to worry about a mortgage anymore. It's not just about saving the interest, that monthly interest that the bank loves to charge us on our mortgages. It's really about creating that foundation of control and security. So yes, once that mortgage is done, paid off with that inheritance money, the income can be redirected. That is, your mortgage repayments that you were previously paying can be used elsewhere, and they can be used things like investing or perhaps contributing to super. These things become so much easier and more ambitious, and quite often once our mortgage is paid off or all of our debts are paid off, such as toxic debt, naturally our risk tolerance tends to improve. We feel more confident about taking educated risks. So this concept or this idea or goal of wanting to pay off your mortgage could most definitely be a really sensible, wise one. But of course, you need to speak to a financial planner who can run all the numbers so you know exactly what you're doing before you make any major decisions. Now, once that conversation's been had, we need to talk about emergency money. And the fact that there is no one-size formula that fits everyone. You'll often hear this rule when it comes to emergency money of having 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses or 3 to 6 months worth of income, whether it be net or gross. No one seems to be able to answer that. But personally and professionally, as a licensed financial planner with over 22 years experience, I don't actually believe in generic rules. Emergency money, and this is not just for Jane, this is for everybody listening. It should reflect your real life. So to Jane and to everyone listening right now, I encourage people to ask themselves these questions. And the first one is, what are my top 5 realistic risks, and how much would each of these risks cost me if they happened? Next question I would ask, what if the top 3 most expensive risks actually happened to me all at the same time? How much would I need to cover the total costs without having to borrow money from anyone? And another great question to ask is, if I had that total figure in savings, say rounded up, would seeing that money in a separate savings account give me a sense of peace or still leave me feeling anxious? Because the answer to this is a really good guide as to how much emergency money you really do need. And if it leaves you feeling nervous, well, you might want to go north of that figure when in doubt. So for Jane, this might include having time out of the workforce with realistic timeframes to find the right job, not just any job. It may consider looking at health or dental costs. The other day, a friend of mine told me that he had spent $35,000 on having to get dental work. Another, area of expenses for emergency money might include, unexpected housing or family needs. These things can be really expensive. Oh gosh, the other day we had 2 toilets that broke in our house. I think it cost about $5,500 to buy 2 brand new toilets and get them installed. These are the things that can really kind of catch us by surprise, but we need to keep things real. And emergency money is not about pessimism. It's about freedom from panic. So after you've looked at paying off the mortgage, you then want to think about having the right amount of money as emergency money set aside. The next thing I really want to talk about, and this is really something I guess the alarm bells were going off in my head as I was reading Jane's message, and that is talking about superannuation and exactly how much money does Jane really need in her super investment portfolio. So this is a really important step, and I really want to just tie this back directly to Jane. Superannuation is not actually about balances, even though we tend to talk about balances a lot. It's really about income for life, passive income for life even. So Jane has got to go and see a financial planner and get a financial planner to model a whole pile of different strategies and ideas and situations. But the financial planner is going to need some important bits of information. And again, this is not just for Jane, but for everyone who's listening, thinking about going and seeing a financial planner about their super. So the thing is, you need to understand what are your realistic annual living expenses for retirement. Some people's retirement will be a lot cheaper than what they're spending at the moment, whereas for other people, it might be the other way around because they want to have this wonderful, very lavish, luxurious retirement. You need to know the answer to these questions. Another important question is, how long do you need that income to last? And then, of course, if she or anyone listening right now wants to actually leave an inheritance or spend all of your money and literally die with nothing. And then the financial planner needs to think about things like inflation, changes in taxes, and of course, the longevity risk. So, for example, Jane might need $70,000. And then the financial planner can then work out, how much does she need in capital terms? And how does the investment strategy actually impact the sustainability of this? Superannuation is incredibly powerful because a lot of the contributions can be tax effective, and the earnings when they're switched to pension phase can also be tax free. And the income from that allocated pension is generally tax free after age 60, which can be hugely beneficial for making sure that that money lasts as long as possible. But the thing is, superannuation only works if enough money actually goes into superannuation in the first place, and that money is invested appropriately. It doesn't just sit around sitting in a cash account or a term deposit, possibly going backwards with inflation. And of course, it needs to be structured correctly the right way the first time, because it's expensive to try and change things around, and that's why a great financial planner will be really valuable here. And you can't just sit and forget with super. You've got to review it on a regular basis. Make sure the contributions are going in, you're making the most of all the deductibility, the investment strategy works, and you're happy with the returns. This is where this inheritance money can now really transform your life. And for anyone else that's about to receive an inheritance or has recently received an inheritance, this money to support your retirement can be incredibly powerful and really change the quality of your life. So, whilst on this topic of superannuation, I want to just very briefly go over some key factors that everybody should know and understand at all times about super. Preservation age for most people is generally around age 60, which means once you put money into super, you can't get it out until you meet a condition of release, which is for most people age 60. From retirement, your superannuation can be switched into what we call an allocated pension. And the earnings, that is the investment earnings from capital growth and income, in pension phase are generally tax-free. Then the pension payments after age 60 are also generally tax-free. And we have various caps and rules and regulations that you really need to know and understand and do, but a financial planner will actually go through the ones that are applicable to you. But these simple things to know and understand about super at all times really does shine a light as to how powerful superannuation can be when used deliberately in a wealth accumulation and even wealth preservation strategy. All right, the next topic we need to move on with this start here conversation is investing outside of superannuation, because this can add another layer of confidence and flexibility. Now, Jane in her message also mentioned starting her $1,000 project. She mentioned she previously had built up an $8,000 share portfolio and she had really loved building this and felt really proud about it. I will say this, investing out of superannuation, like outside of the super environment, is really beneficial as well. They work powerfully, combined together, because you have liquidity, because you can obviously sell that portfolio or access and spend the dividends should you wish. You can make changes to your portfolio. And of course, it helps build financial confidence, creates a passive income. And as I said, it really can complement a superannuation strategy. And as financial literacy grows, particularly for Jane, it really does improve both portfolios, because superannuation is simply another investment account, but obviously with a different tax wrapper. So yes, continuing on to build that $1,000 project portfolio after you've prioritized, paying off the home, building up emergency money and contributing to super, this is something you can definitely keep doing at your own pace as you wish, and obviously create that additional liquidity and confidence and opportunity. So as we work towards wrapping up this episode, there's another topic I really want to talk about, and that is legacy and the next generation. Jane mentioned the idea of also investing for her teenage children. Now, I love this idea. I think it's really beautiful, and there's something incredibly empowering about this, because if you can gift money in the right way, you can actually teach some really powerful financial lessons. You can teach children about dividends and the power of passive income. You can teach children about the power of compounding interest, particularly over the long run. But most of all, you can teach your children about financial independence, what that really is and what that really looks like, and how to actually realistically do it for themselves. And that really does help break cycles. So for Jane, after she's prioritized taking really good care of herself, making sure that she is never left in a financially vulnerable position ever again, and that she honors this financial blessing that comes from her late mother, and she's set herself up without ever jeopardizing her own financial situation, and particularly that longevity risk, looking at doing something for her children where it comes from a place of education and empowerment, where they can actually start building and contributing towards their own share portfolio, could most definitely be very, very powerful. And I would also suggest that the children be a part of this, that if she's going to get them started with, say, $1,000 each or $5,000 each or whatever she feels most comfortable with, that they also step up and also try and match this for dollar or for whatever they can afford to do at the time. And she shows them how to create a regular investment plan so that they have that inbuilt investing habit system established as soon as possible in life. Because we all know the earlier you start, the better. And Jane, as a mother, can help be the catalyst for starting this incredible habit for her children. So, Jane, your instincts in sending me this message are incredibly strong. This inheritance is not about lifestyle upgrades. It's about never feeling financially invisible ever again. With the right legal protection, getting some advice around your mortgage and having a mortgage-free life, and obviously setting aside emergency money, the right amount of emergency money, and getting some concrete advice as to how to set up your superannuation, how to make sure you build it around your life, your values, your goals, that can be a great investment of your time, your money, and building peace of mind. And of course, adding in an ongoing investing plan, both for yourself and for your children. If you can do this, you're not just protecting your future, your financial future, you're actually rewriting it. So I really hope that everything in today's episode has given you a great sense of clarity, direction, and instructions as to what you need to ask a financial planner to do for you. And to everyone else who's listening, if you are about to receive an inheritance, or you have recently, or you're expecting to, please use this as a general guide so that you can know and understand what to ask a financial planner and what to turn up to their office with, understanding what you want to retire on, what's important to you, where your values are, what all of your goals and dreams are. Write them down. The more information that you can give a financial planner, the better. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening to Start Here. I've popped my direct email address in the podcast notes so you can send me a DM directly to answer your question as part of Start Here. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and I'll see you on Monday morning for Sugar Mama's Fire Play.